in keeping with the agreement that was negotiated by senators, two senators on the committee and the Senate President, we have received 3,459 testimonies as of 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. Since 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, we've received many more. However, that total is not known at this time. Of the total received, there was 1,386 in support of Senate Bill 1, or 40%. And then this total is a little bit unclear. There were 2,073 in opposition of Senate Bill 1, or 60%. But within the 2,073, we could not, in the time allotment, ferret out those that were opposed to Senate Bill 1, and as opposed to those who were opposed to having a special session. Those subgroupings were impossible to ascertain in the time allotted. So the agreement was to make that announcement, and that announcement has been made. We were in decision making, and before going into decision making, I want to thank all of the people so the inclination, having read the testimonies that I read and having heard the testimonies today of the chair, is to move Senate Bill 1 forward for the full consideration of all members of the Senate, unamended. Any discussion? Senator Sloan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank all the people that did come out today, everybody on both sides. And we've had many discussions. Some of you may remember 3 years ago we had 18 hours straight on a civil unions bill. So we have discussed this issue. As I've said before, I've said previously for the last couple of months, I did not believe and do not believe that this issue warranted a special session. There's no urgency. I do believe that it is politically motivated from a governor who is slipping in the polls and who has mandated this session. But be that as it may, we had it. We did our best to hear from as many people as possible, to hear as many viewpoints as possible. I think the bottom line, though, is there was a lot of misinformation. There was confusion from the state attorney general, and there was an attempt, for example, to mischaracterize the ruling of the U.S. Supreme Court, which in fact did not strike down the Defense of Marriage Act, which did not mandate that every state must take action. And there is a difference between addressing problems within existing law and redefining marriage. The two are mutually exclusive. I've been here long enough. I went through the 1998 constitutional amendment, the vote. People voted. They thought they got one thing, and the legislature has changed. 80% of the people that are here now were not there in 1998. So people got something different. In addition to that, people told us if we just passed reciprocal beneficiaries, everything would be okay. And we did. And then they said if we just passed civil unions, everything would be okay. And we did. And now we're saying if we just pass same-sex marriage, everything will be okay. But it won't be. And what we would be doing with SB1 is creating a new cause of action, more litigation that would harm churches, small businesses, individuals. I think this is a bad bill. I don't think we need it. I think that was testified to this morning. If there are areas in the law that need addressing so that loving individuals can take care of one another or have equal access to medical facilities, then that is what we should do. We do not redefine marriage, however. I have a lot of problems with this bill, and we had a number of Native Hawaiian testifiers today, and I call your attention to Section 572-C, Rights of Parents, within this bill. This is going to cause a lot of problems within the Native Hawaiian community, and I fully expect that there will be a public announcement and a press conference within the next few days to sound the alarm about this and other portions of this bill. So I'm going to be voting no on the bill. I think that we've had a full discussion. I think that we need to heal in this community because this bill, more than any other, has caused a rift and division within us. Yeah. It is something that is not like Hawaii. It is not something that the legislature should be involved in, nor the courts. It absolutely is something that we should let the people decide. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During this entire hearing, I chose to listen. A whole lot of my 2 ears and 1 mouth. I decided to listen twice as much as I'm going to speak right now. But I do want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership in this incredibly historic moment in our history, the history of Hawaii and the history of the United States, the history of the world, and we get a chance to become part of the dialogue. I think there was much gratitude from this senator to everyone who spoke this evening. It took great pains for many to come up to the microphone, not being speakers like we are, colleagues. And for you to explain your position and your hearts to us tonight. And believe me, none of us took it lightly. Just the mere fact that we look indifferent was so far from the truth. We needed to remain neutral so that our perspective we could take in all perspectives tonight. To the staff, mahalo nui loa for being there, for the chair and for the vice chair and for the committee. I am inclined to vote with our chair this evening. I think, having said that, I would like for us to all think about celebrating our individuality and accept our differences unconditionally. Our differences are what makes us unique, not only because we're from Hawaii, but because we are of this honua in this universe. Equally important is that though it seems we're more different than we are alike, let me just finish by saying that I think deep down we're all the same inside. And we all want to be loved and respected and appreciated and valued. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me share my thoughts. And to the minority leader, thank you for sharing your thoughts, sir. And with that, I will be voting with the chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion?
Aloha, and I just wanted to thank all of you again also for coming out. Many of you are from my district, which I know is very, very far. I know how much good the churches do in districts like mine. I've seen many, many people turn their lives around, come out of jail and get stopped from going back to jail, get their kids back, stop doing drugs because of the churches. So I really, really appreciate all the work you do. I'm a mother also, and so I can definitely empathize with the parents that testified. I worry a lot about my son, getting involved with the wrong crowd, peer pressure. But I thought about it a lot, and I bet a lot of parents out there use reverse psychology, right? And I think that when you tell a child they can't do something, and you constantly make it something they cannot do, and it almost, to me, that makes them more likely to do it. And we've all used reverse psychology. My son didn't want to do karate, until he found out his 3-year-old friend, who's younger than him, was taking karate in town, and he couldn't go. And I said, oh, well, Keani, so you can't go because you don't like karate, right? You don't want to go. And then that, of course, made him want to take it in Waianae. So, you know, I know that your fears are very real, but I think the more we accept, the more we make it something that's not so taboo, I think that actually then it will not be something that is considered this thing people do to rebel. And then I just wanted to also comment on the concern of these businesses and churches that are afraid that they will be forced to take this clientele. And I think that this could maybe be a real positive, almost like maybe the GMO issue, where we couldn't get the labeling passed, but what we've seen happen is that there have been a lot of non-GMO labeling coming through, so that those customers and those that prefer that kind of product can then get it. So we could maybe have a pro-LGBT business app. You know, we could have, you know, businesses, those kind of places could then have maybe rainbow symbol or something, so that then the LGBT community would know which businesses to choose. And I think that'll just happen naturally also. I mean, they you know, people know what businesses they seem to agree with philosophically. And so, with that being said, I know that there's going to be a lot more discussion about this topic and a lot more debate, and I just appreciate everyone who came out today, and I know it was not easy for all of you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, colleagues, also all of you that are here that stayed with us all day long. As many of you know, I've been involved with this issue since the early 1990s, and I've opposed same-sex marriage every step of the way. And given how strongly people feel on both sides of the issue, I felt that it was unfortunate that we did not hold hearings on the neighbor islands so that they could testify without having to fly over the expense of flying over here. A 5-day session is way too short to pass a bill of this magnitude. So some have said that we have talked this issue to death over the last 20 years, that we've heard all the arguments, but that really isn't the issue. The issue is that we are not just ramming this down people's throats, but giving them the opportunity to testify in a meaningful way. What we heard today from the bill's opponents is people of faith are extremely concerned about how proposed religious exemptions is one of the narrowest among the states with same-sex marriage. And so by passing this bill, we're going down a path where religious freedom will be curtailed and people with legitimate religious objections to same-sex marriage will be facing lawsuits and possibly even being forced to close their businesses. So it's also likely the passage of this bill will greatly impact our public schools, as we heard many times over in the testimony today. And so for those reasons, Mr. Chair, I will be opposing this bill. Thank you.
If not, chair votes aye.